It's time to get ready. It's time to get set. We're going to learn about the letters of the alphabet. So we wrote this little ditty so you wouldn't forget your ABCs. It's the alphabet. It goes A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z. It's easy to remember, it's easy to do. And if you know the alphabet, reading's easier too. You're gonna know the alphabet when we get through. Let me sing the alphabet one more time for you. It goes A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z. These are all the letters of the alphabet, and when you put them together, words are what you get. So just sing this little tune and you'll never forget your ABCs. Bet you don't forget the alphabet.
This is the story of the 3 little pigs. Long ago, there lived a mother pig who had 3 little pigs. The mother pig was very poor, and she had to send her pigs out to seek their fortunes. The first little pig that went away met a man with a bundle of straw.
I want to build a house. Could you give me that straw so I could build it?
The man liked the little pig, and he gave him the straw to build a house. The little pig built his house in one day. Soon, a big bad wolf came along and knocked at the first little pig's door.
Little pig, let me come in.
No, not by the hair of my chinny chin chin. I'll not let you in.
Then I'll huff, and I'll puff, and I'll blow your house in.
And he huffed, and he puffed, and he blew the house in, and he chased the first little pig away. The second little pig that went away met a man with a bundle of sticks.
I want to build a house. Could you give me your bundle of sticks so I can build it?
The man liked the little pig, and he gave him the sticks. In 2 days, the second little pig had his house built. Soon, the big bad wolf came along and knocked at the second little pig's door.
Little pig, let me come in.
No, not by the hair of my chinny chin chin. I'll not let you in.
Then I'll huff, and I'll puff, and I'll blow your house in.
And he huffed, and he puffed, and he huffed, and he puffed, and he blew the house in, and he chased the second little pig away. The third pig that went away met a man with a load of bricks.
I want to build a house. Could you give me your load of bricks so I could build it?
The man liked the little pig, so he gave him the bricks. It took the third little pig 3 days to build his house of bricks. Soon the big bad wolf came along and knocked at the door.
Little pig, let me come in.
No, not by the hair of my chinny chin chin. I'll not let you in.
Then I'll huff, and I'll puff, and I'll blow your house in.
And he huffed, and he puffed, and he huffed, and he puffed. But he could not blow the house in.
Keep on huffing and puffing. You will never blow my house in.
Little pig, will you let just the tip of my nose in?
No, not even the tip of your nose.
Little pig, will you let just the tip of my tail in?
No, not even the tip of your tail.
So the big bad wolf climbed up on the roof and into the chimney. Now the third little pig had poured soup fixins in water into a kettle. He put it over a very hot fire. And when the wolf came down the chimney, he fell in the kettle. And so the third little pig went to find his mother and his brothers, and they all lived happily ever after in the house made of bricks. You have just seen the story of the 3 little pigs. Now you are going to learn some letters that are in that story. The first letter you are going to learn is the letter P. It looks like this. This is a capital P. And this is a lowercase p. You say P. That big bad wolf was determined to get those pigs, wasn't he? But finally he was outsmarted by the third little pig. Some say that the big bad wolf tried other games to trick the pig, but nothing worked. The story is about 3 little pigs, and pig is a word that begins with the letter P. Do you hear the sound P makes when you say pig? Say pig. The pig family was very poor. Poor is a word that begins with the letter P. Say it. Poor. What did the big bad wolf tell the little pigs when they wouldn't let him in? He said he would huff and puff and blow their house in. Do you hear a P word when I say huff and puff? Puff. Say it. Puff. Can you hear the sound the letter P makes? Another letter in the story of the 3 little pigs is the letter C. The letter C looks like this. This is a capital C. This is a lowercase c. Can I have some straw to build my house? The little pig asked the man. Can is a word that begins with the letter C. Listen to the sound the letter C makes. Can. The wolf asked the little pig if he could come in. Did you hear 2 words that begin with the letter C? Could come. Say them. Could come. The next letter you are going to learn is the letter N. It looks like this. This is a capital N. This is a lowercase n. Now you say N. What did the little pig say when the wolf asked if he could come in? No. No is a word that begins with the letter N. Say no and listen to the sound the letter N makes. When the big bad wolf couldn't huff and puff the door in at the 3rd little pig's house, he asked the little pig if he could put the tip of his nose in. Did you hear a word that begins with the letter N? Nose. Say it and listen to the beginning sound of the word. Nose. And the 3rd little pig said the wolf would never blow his house down. Never is an N word. Say it. Never. Can you hear the sound of the letter N? The next letter you are going to learn is the letter K. It looks like this. This is a capital K. This is a lowercase k. They look alike. Now you say K. Wouldn't you have liked to see the big bad wolf huff and puff and try to blow the house down? But the little pig said, "Keep on huffing and puffing. You will never blow my house in." Keep is the word that begins with the letter K. Say it. Keep. Can you hear the sound the letter K makes? Keep. What did the pig put the water in? A kettle. Kettle is a word that begins with the letter K. Say it and listen to the sound it makes. Kettle. The last letter you are going to learn is the letter I. It looks like this. This is a capital I. This is a lowercase I. Now you say I. Here are some other words that begin with the letter I that are not in our story. I will say the word, and you say it after me. Listen to the beginning sound of each word. Okay, here we go. Icicle. Can you hear the sound the letter I makes when you say icicle? Iron. Listen to the beginning sound when you say iron. Ice skates. Well, those are all of the letters you're going to learn from the story of the 3 little pigs. Watch the story over and over until you know all of the letters. When you think you know them well, you can then go to the next story. This is the story of the Little Red Hen. Long ago, there lived a little red hen. She lived in a house near a hill with her baby chicks. She liked to work in her garden, and she worked hard and long. One day, while she was scratching in the ground, she found some grains of wheat.
Cat, will you help me plant this wheat?
Not I. I'm too busy.
Dog, will you help me plant this wheat?
Not I. It's too hot.
Duck, will you help me plant this wheat?
Not I. I do not know how.
And he swam away.
Then I'll do it myself.
And the little red hen planted the wheat all by herself. Before long, the wheat grew tall and was ready to cut. Again, she went to her lazy friends.
Cat, will you help me cut the wheat?
Not I. I'm too busy.
Dog, will you help me cut the wheat?
Not I. It's too hot.
Duck, will you help me cut the wheat?
Not I. I do not know how.
Then I will do it myself.
The little red hen cut all the wheat by herself and took it to the mill to be made into flour. She had no one to help her, so she carried the heavy bags of flour home in her big brown basket. The little red hen liked to bake bread, and with all the flour she had, she was going to make lots of loaves. Again, she went to her lazy friends.
Cat, will you help me bake the bread?
Not I. I'm too busy.
Dog, will you help me bake the bread?
Not I. It's too hot.
Duck, will you help me bake the bread?
Not I. I do not know how.
And he swam away.
Very well then, I will bake the bread myself.
So she put on her apron and began to bake the bread. After it was baked, she got some butter and a jar of jam and said,
Who will help me eat my bread?
I will. It smells so good, and I like buttered bread and jam.
I will. I also like buttered bread and jam.
I will. I do know how to eat bread, so let me help you.
Oh, no. You would not help me plant the grain, cut the wheat, grind the flour, or bake the bread. So you will not help me eat the bread.
Then she called her baby chicks together, and they ate all the warm buttered bread and jam they could eat, while the little red hen's 3 lazy friends looked on. The little red hen needed help, but her lazy friends would not help her. But in the end, they were all sorry that they did not help. You have just seen the story of the little red hen. Now you are going to learn some letters that are in that story. The first letter you are going to learn is the letter H. It looks like this. This is a capital H. And this is a lowercase h. You say H. Hen is a word that begins with the letter H. Say hen. Listen to the beginning sound hen makes. Hen. The little red hen lived in a house near a hill. Do you hear any H words? House and hill. Say house. Do you hear the sound the letter H makes? Say hill. Listen to the sound the letter H makes when you say hill. What did the little red hen ask her friends to do? She asked them to help her. Help is a word that begins with the letter H. Say help and listen to the beginning sound. Say her. Do you hear the sound the letter H makes when you say her? The dog didn't want to help because it was too hot. Do you hear a word that begins with the letter H? Hot. Say hot with me and listen to the beginning sound. Hot. The next letter you are going to learn is the letter B. It looks like this. This is a capital B. This is a lowercase b. Now you say B. The little red hen needed help from her lazy friends, but the cat said that she was too busy. Busy is a word that begins with the letter B. Say it and listen to the beginning of the word busy. Do you hear the sound the letter B makes? When the little red hen brought the bag of flour home from the mill, she carried it in her big brown basket. Bag, big, and basket are all words that begin with the letter B. Say those words with me and listen to the sound at the beginning of each word. Bag, big, basket. Do you hear the sound the letter B makes? Who helped her eat the bread and butter? Her baby chicks. Baby is a word that begins with the letter B. Say baby with me and listen to the sound it makes. Baby. The next letter you are going to learn is the letter L. It looks like this. This is a capital L. This is a lowercase l. Now you say L. The name of our story is The Little Red Hen. Can you hear an L word? Little. Say little. The little red hen liked to bake bread, and she hoped she could bake lots of loaves. Can you hear the L words? Like, lot, loaves. Say them and listen to the sound the letter L makes. Like, lot, loaves. The little red hen worked hard and long in her garden. Do you hear a word that begins with the letter L? Long. The next letter you are going to learn is the letter J. It looks like this. This is a capital J. This is a lowercase j. Now you say J. What did the little red hen put on her bread and butter? Jam. Jam is a word that begins with the letter J. Listen to the beginning of the word jam. And do you know what jam comes in? Jars. Jar is another word that begins with the letter J. Say it with me and listen to the beginning of the word. Jar. The last letter you are going to learn is the letter A. It looks like this. This is a capital A. This is a lowercase a. Now you say A. When all of the little red hen's lazy friends would not help her bake bread, she decided to do it herself. Do you remember what she wore when she baked her bread? An apron. Apron is a word that begins with the letter A. Say apron and listen to the beginning sound of the word. Apron. The little red hen called her chicks together, and they ate all the bread they could. Do you hear a word that begins with the letter A? Ate. Say it with me and listen to the sound the letter A makes. 8. Well, those are all of the letters you are going to learn from the story of the Little Red Hen. Watch the story over and over until you know all of the letters. When you think you know them well, you can then go to the next story. This is the story of the 3 billy goats Gruff. Once upon a time, there lived 3 billy goats named Gruff. They lived in a forest, and every day they would go over the bridge to eat the fresh green grass on the other side. Under the dark bridge lived a very mean, fat, old, ugly troll. One day, the littlest billy goat Gruff went trip-trap, trip-trap, trip-trap on the bridge. The troll hears footsteps and in a deep voice said,
Who is that going over my bridge?
It is only I.
said the littlest billy goat Gruff in a little voice.
I want to go over the bridge and eat the grass on the other side.
I am coming to gobble you up,
said the mean, fat, old, ugly troll.
Oh, do not gobble me up. I'm too little. My brother is much bigger, and he will cross over the bridge soon. Wait for him,
pleaded the littlest billy goat Gruff.
Very well. Pass over my bridge and be on your way,
ordered the mad troll. Soon, the medium-sized billy goat Gruff went trip-trap, trip-trap, trip-trap over the bridge. In a deep voice, the troll grumbled,
Who is that going over my bridge?
It is only I,
said the medium-sized billy goat Gruff.
I want to go over your bridge to eat the grass on the other side.
I am going to gobble you up,
said the mean, fat, old, ugly troll.
Do not gobble me up. I am much too small. My big brother will cross over the bridge soon, and he is the biggest of all,
pleaded the medium-sized billy goat Gruff.
Very well. Pass over my bridge and be on your way,
ordered the troll. Finally, the biggest billy goat Gruff began going over the bridge. Trip, trap, trip, trap, trip, trap. He made a very loud noise.
Who is that going over my bridge?
demanded the mean, fat, old, ugly troll.
It is I, the biggest billy goat Gruff,
said the goat in a deep voice.
I am coming to gobble you up,
said the mean, fat, old, ugly troll.
Oh, no you won't,
replied big Billy Goat Gruff.
See these big horns on my head? I will hit you so hard with my horns it will crush you to bits.
The troll got so mad that he jumped onto the bridge and ran straight toward big Billy Goat Gruff. Big Billy Goat Gruff lowered his head and pointed his horns toward the troll. The troll ran into big Billy Goat Gruff's horns, and with a terrible thud, the troll bounced off the bridge and into the river below. Big Billy Goat Gruff then joined his two brothers who were eating the green grass on the other side of the bridge, and the three Billy Goats Gruff were never again afraid to cross over the bridge. It is said that the mean, fat, old, ugly troll was never seen again, and that the three Billy Goats Gruff ate the green grass until they too got fat. You have just seen the story of the three Billy Goats Gruff. Now you are going to learn some letters that are in that story. The first letter you are going to learn is the letter G. It looks like this. This is a capital G. And this is a lowercase g. You say G. Goat is a word that begins with the letter G. Do you hear the sound the letter G makes in the word goat? Goat. Now you say goat. The three Billy Goats Gruff wanted to go to the other side to eat the green grass. Go is a G word. Do you hear the sound the letter G makes? Now you say it. Go. Do you remember what the mean, fat, old, ugly troll was going to do to the billy goats?
I am going to gobble
He was
you up.
going to gobble them up. Gobble is a word that begins with the letter G. Listen to the beginning sound of the word gobble. Now you say gobble. The next letter you are going to learn is the letter D. It looks like this. This is a capital D. This is a lowercase d. Now you say D. Big Billy Goat Gruff had a deep voice. Deep is another word that begins with the letter D. Listen to the sound the D makes in the word deep. Now you say deep. The troll lived under a dark bridge. Do you hear a D word? Dark. Dark is a word that begins with the letter D. Listen to the sound the D makes in the word dark. Now you say dark. When the troll told the billy goats that he was going to gobble them up, the goats replied, "Do not gobble me up." Do is a D word. Say do. The next letter you are going to learn is the letter F. It looks like this. This is a capital F. This is a lowercase f. Now you say F. Do you remember where the 3 billy goats Gruff lived? They lived in a forest. Listen closely to the sound that word makes. Forest. It is a word that begins with the letter F. Now you say it. Forest. Can you hear the sound F makes? Fine is a word that begins with F, and you are doing a fine job of learning your letters. The next letter you are going to learn is the letter M. It looks like this. This is a capital M. This is a lowercase m. Now you say M. The troll was mean to the 3 billy goats Gruff. Mean is a word that begins with the letter M. Say the word mean. Listen to the sound the M makes at the beginning of the word. Mean. The troll was mad at the 3 billy goats Gruff for going over his bridge.
Who is that going
Do
over
you
my
hear an M word? Mad. Say mad and listen to the sound the M makes. Mad. The troll asked, "Who's that going over my bridge?" My is a word that begins with the letter M. Say my. Listen to the sound the M makes. Do you hear that they all begin alike? They all begin with the letter M. The 3 billy goats Gruff had to pass over the bridge to graze on the green grass on the other side. Over is a word that begins with the letter O. The last letter you are going to learn is the letter O. It looks like this. This is a capital O. This is a lowercase o. Say the letter O. Listen to the sound it makes. Say it again. O. Over. It is a word that begins with O. You can hear that clearly. Say it. Over. The troll was mean, old, and ugly. Do you hear another word that has an O in it? Old. Old is a word that begins with an O. Say old and listen to it. Old. The littlest goat said, "It is only I." Only is another word that begins with O. Only. Say only and listen to the sound at the beginning of the word. Only. Do you hear that they begin alike? They begin with the letter O. Well, those are all of the letters you are going to learn from the story of the 3 billy goats gruff. Watch the story over and over until you know all of the letters. When you think you know them well, you can then go to the next story. This is the story of Little Red Riding Hood. Once upon a time, there was a young girl who lived with her mother in a small cottage in a quaint village. Her grandmother had made her a lovely red velvet riding cape and hood. Because she loved to wear it, she was called Little Red Riding Hood. Little Red Riding Hood loved to visit with her grandmother, whose home was deep in the woods. One bright sunny morning, Little Red Riding Hood's mother asked her to take some bread and fresh fruit to grandmother, who was not feeling well.
Zip up your cape and remember, go straight to grandmother's house and do not talk to any strangers you meet along the way.
Yes, Mother, I'll do as you say, and I'll be very careful.
And she headed down the road to grandmother's house.
A very good morning.
It was a hungry wolf, and he was smiling.
I can't chat. My mother has warned me not to speak to strangers.
Stranger? Why, I'm not a stranger. I've seen you walk this path many times. I feel like we're old friends.
That may be, but I must be going.
And she hurried to grandmother's house. Now the wolf ran down the road by the river to grandmother's house. Upon arriving, he knocked at the door.
It's me, Little Red Riding Hood. Let me in.
Grandmother opened the door, and the wolf grabbed grandmother, tied her up, and locked her in the closet. Then the wolf crawled in bed under the quilt and waited quietly for Little Red Riding Hood to arrive. In a while, Little Red Riding Hood arrived and knocked at the door.
Grandmother, it's me, Little Red Riding Hood.
Come in, sweetheart.
When Little Red Riding Hood looked in her grandmother's bed, she did not like what she saw.
Goodness, Grandmother, you look ugly. You don't look at all like yourself today.
Come closer, sweetheart.
So she walked closer and looked at the wolf's ears.
Grandmother, what big, long, hairy ears you have.
All the better to hear you with.
Little Red Riding Hood went a little closer.
Grandmother, what big, shiny eyes you have.
All the better to see you with.
And Grandmother, what big, sharp, shiny teeth you have.
All the better to eat you with.
And he jumped out from under the quilt. Little Red Riding Hood ran out of the house as quick as a rabbit with the wolf chasing her. A woodsman came to help Little Red Riding Hood and zapped the wolf with his axe.
Run as fast as you can.
Zip zap went the woodsman with his axe, and the wolf was so frightened he ran as fast as he could, and he never bothered anyone again. Little Red Riding Hood went back to her grandmother's house, opened the closet, untied her, and they sat down to eat the bread and fresh fruit. Little Red Riding Hood did exactly what her mother told her to do, and that was not to talk to strangers. That is good advice for you, too. Never, never talk to strangers. You have just seen the story of Little Red Riding Hood. Now you are going to learn some letters that are in that story. The first letter you are going to learn is the letter R. It looks like this. This is a capital R. And this is a lowercase r. The wolf wanted to arrive at Grandmother's house before Little Red Riding Hood, so he ran down the road by the river. Did you hear some words that begin with the letter R? Ran down the road by the river. Ran, road, and river are all words that begin with the letter R. Say each of them and listen to the beginning sound they make. Ran, road, river. Little Red Riding Hood ran out of Grandmother's house as quick as a rabbit. Rabbit is a word that begins with the letter R. Say rabbit and listen to the sound it makes. Rabbit. The woodsman hollered, "Run as fast as you can." Run is a word that begins with the letter R. The next letter you are going to learn is the letter Q. It looks like this. This is a capital Q. This is a lowercase q. Now you say Q. Little Red Riding Hood lived in a quaint village. Quaint is a word that begins with the letter Q. Say quaint. Do you hear the sound the letter Q makes? The wolf crawled under the quilt and waited quietly for Little Red Riding Hood to arrive. Do you hear some words that begin with the letter Q? Quilt and quiet. Say quilt and listen to the sound the letter Q makes. Now say quiet. They both begin with the same sound. Quilt, quiet. Little Red Riding Hood ran out of Grandmother's house as quick as a rabbit. Quick is a word that begins with the letter Q. Say it and listen to the beginning sound the letter Q makes. Quick. The next letter you are going to learn is the letter Z. It looks like this. This is a capital Z. This is a lowercase z. They look alike, don't they? Now you say Z. Little Red Riding Hood's mother told her to zip up her cape before she went to her grandmother's house. Zip is a word that begins with the letter Z. Say it and listen to the sound the letter Z makes. Zip. The woodsman zapped the wolf with his axe. Zap is a word that begins with the letter Z. Say it and listen to the sound the letter Z makes. Zap. The next letter you are going to learn is the letter V. It looks like this. This is a capital V. This is a lowercase v. They look alike. Now you say V. Little Red Riding Hood's mother told her not to talk to strangers and to be very careful. Very is a word that begins with the letter V. Do you remember where Little Red Riding Hood lived? She lived in a village. Village is a word that begins with the letter V. Say village and listen to the sound the letter V makes. Grandmother made Little Red Riding Hood a velvet riding cape. Velvet is a word that begins with the letter V. Say velvet and listen to the sound the letter V makes. Velvet. The next letter you're going to learn is the letter Y. It looks like this. This is a capital Y. This is a lowercase y. They look alike. Now you say Y. Little Red Riding Hood was a young girl. Young begins with the letter Y. Say young. Can you hear the sound of the letter Y? Young. When Little Red Riding Hood's mother told her to go straight to Grandmother's house and not to talk to strangers, Little Red Riding Hood said, "Yes, Mother." Yes is a word that begins with the letter Y. Say it and listen to the sound the letter Y makes. Yes. The last letter you are going to learn is the letter U. It looks like this. This is a capital U. This is a lowercase u. They look alike, don't they? Now, you say U. Here are some words that begin with the letter U that are not in our story. I will say the word and you say it after me. Listen to the beginning sound of each word. Okay, here we go. Unicycle. Can you hear the sound the letter U makes when you say unicycle? Uniform. Listen to the beginning sound when you say uniform. Ukulele. Say ukulele and listen to the beginning sound the letter U makes. Let's look at and say the words that begin with the letter U again. When you say them, listen closely to the beginning sound each word makes. Unicycle. Uniform. Ukulele. Well, those are all of the letters that you are going to learn from the story of Little Red Riding Hood. Watch the story over and over until you know all of the letters. When you think you know them well, you can then go to the next story. This is the story of the shoemaker and the elves. A long, long time ago in a small town, there lived a man who owned a shoe shop. He worked hard every day, but he and his wife were still very poor. In fact, they were so poor that the shoemaker had only enough leather to make one more pair of shoes. Each evening, the shoemaker would lay out the leather and gather his tools so he could begin sewing the shoes the next morning. Then he and his wife would wash their face, brush their teeth, and fall asleep. On this particular morning, when the shoemaker went into his shop to begin sewing the shoes, he did not find the leather he'd cut the night before. But instead, he found a pair of shoes that were already made. He was surprised. He took the shoes and looked them over carefully. They were shiny, and every stitch was in place. He knew that they had been made by a master shoemaker. Soon, a customer came into the shop. When he saw the shoes, he was pleased. He liked them so much that he paid the shoemaker more than the usual price, and the shoemaker had enough money now to buy leather to make more shoes. That evening, the shoemaker laid out the leather and gathered his tools so he could begin sewing the shoes the following morning. Then he and his wife washed their face, brushed their teeth, and fell asleep. The next morning, when the shoemaker went into the shop to begin sewing the shoes, he found 6 pairs of shoes already made. They, too, were some of the finest shoes he had ever seen. They were polished and shiny, and every stitch was in place. Soon, more customers came into the shop, and they, too, were pleased with the shoes, and they also paid the shoemaker more than the usual price. Again that night, the shoemaker laid out the leather so he could begin sewing the next morning. Then he and his wife washed their face, brushed their teeth, and fell asleep. Now the shoemaker had enough leather for 11 pairs of shoes, and soon customers from towns all around began coming to the shoemaker's shop. After a while, he and his wife were making a good living and had become wealthy.
How would it be if we sat up tonight to see who it is that lent us such a good helping hand?
His wife agreed, and that evening they hid in a closet behind some clothes and waited. At 10 o'clock, 2 tiny elves came through the window into the shop. They sat down at the table and began to work with their tiny tools. They cut and they stitched. They sewed and they polished with their tiny little fingers until all of the leather had been made into shoes. They worked quickly and quietly, and by 12 o'clock midnight, they'd finished their work, and they ran away through the window. The shoemaker and his wife could not believe their eyes.
Those tiny elves have made us wealthy. We are no longer hungry. We should thank them. They run about with so little on, they must be freezing cold. Let's fix something for them. I'll make them each a pair of shoes, and you can knit them some socks and a sweater.
So the shoemaker and his wife began making the gifts. And when they had finished, they put the clothing in a box and placed it on the table. Then they hid in the closet and waited for the elves to arrive. At 10 o'clock, the elves came skipping in and were ready to go to work. But instead of the cut-out leather, they found a surprise. When they opened the boxes and found the sweaters, trousers, socks, and shoes, they were so happy that they began to sing and dance.
Now we're the boys so fine and neat. Why cobble more for others' feet? Now we're the boys so fine and neat. Why cobble more for others' feet?
They sang and danced all around the room. They waltzed on the tables and sidestepped over supplies. And then they went out through the window, singing merrily. From that time on, the elves were never seen again in the shoemaker's shop. But the shoemaker did well for as long as he lived, and was lucky in everything he did. The elves were very helpful to the shoemaker, and after he'd become wealthy, he and his wife repaid the elves for their kindness. We should all learn from this story. We should all help each other. And I'm going to help you now by teaching you some letters from the story of the shoemaker and the elves. The first letter you are going to learn is the letter S. It looks like this. This is a capital S. This is a lowercase s. They look alike. The shoemaker and his wife sat up to see who it was that helped them. Sat and see are 2 words that begin with the letter S. Say sat and listen to the beginning sound the letter S makes. Sat. Now say see and listen to the beginning sound see. The shoemaker's wife sewed the elves some socks. Sewed, some, and socks are all words that begin with the letter S. Listen, and you will hear the beginning sound the letter S makes when you say sewed, some, socks. When the elves got their new clothing, they sang and danced. They even sidestepped over the supplies. Can you hear some words that begin with the letter S? Sang, sidestepped, supplies. These are all words that begin with the letter S. Listen to the beginning sound of these words. Sang, sidestepped, supplies. The next letter you're going to learn is the letter W. It looks like this. This is a capital W. This is a lowercase w. They look alike. The elves made the shoemaker and his wife very wealthy. Wife and wealthy are words that begin with the letter W. Say wife and listen to the beginning sound the letter W makes. Wife. Now say wealthy and listen to the beginning sound, wealthy. The shoemaker and his wife washed their face before going to sleep. Wash is another word that begins with the letter W. Listen to the beginning sound, wash. After the elves had received their new clothing, they waltzed on the tables, and then they went out the window. Waltz, went, and window are words that begin with the letter W. Listen to the beginning sound. Waltz, went, window. The next letter you're going to learn is the letter T. It looks like this. This is a capital T. This is a lowercase t. The elves made the shoes with their tiny tools. Tiny and tools are words that begin with the letter T. Listen to the beginning sound when you say tiny and tools. Tiny, tools. The shoemaker and his wife brushed their teeth before going to sleep. Teeth is a word that begins with the letter T. Listen to the beginning sound when you say teeth. Teeth. The elves began working at 10 o'clock and were finished by 12 o'clock. 10 and 12 are two words that begin with the letter T. Two is also a word that begins with the letter T. Say 2, 10, and 12, and listen to the beginning sound the letter T makes. 2, 10, 12. The next letter you are going to learn is the letter E. It looks like this. This is a capital E, and this is a lowercase e. Each evening, the shoemaker would lay out the leather on his work table. Each and evening are words that begin with the letter E. Listen to the beginning sound the letter E makes. Each, evening. The last letter you're going to learn is the letter X. It looks like this. This is a capital X. This is a lowercase x. They look alike. Because the customers paid more than the usual price for the shoes, the shoemaker was able to buy leather for 6 pairs of shoes. 6 is a word that ends with the letter X. This time, we are going to listen to the ending sound of the word. Say 6 and listen to the ending sound the letter X makes. 6. The shoemaker and his wife wanted to fix something for the elves to thank them for their help. Fix is a word that ends with the letter X. Listen to the ending sound the letter X makes. Fix. The shoemaker and his wife put the gifts in a box. Box is a word that ends with the letter X. Listen to the ending sound the letter X makes. Box. Those are all of the letters you are going to learn in the story about the shoemaker and the elves. There are some words called sight words. These are words you must learn. Sight words are the most used words when we read and when we speak. Let's learn some sight words, and then we will read some sentences. Are you ready? The first word you are going to learn is the dog. This word is see. See the dog. Go. See the dog go. This is the letter A, but it is also a sight word, a kitten. And the last word is the word and. See the dog and the kitten go. The, see, go, and. These are all sight words. Look for them in books. I know that you can find lots of sight words in your storybooks. This word is look, and this one is at. Look at the moon. Can you? Can you see a ghost? And this word is to. Can you go to the moon? Look at, can you, to. All of these are sight words. Look for them everywhere. This word is run. Run. Run, horse, run. This sight word is said. Can you run? Said the duck. Jump. Jump, dear, jump. Play. Can you play? Said the fox. Come. Come and play, said the seal. Run. Play. Come. Jump. Said. All of these are sight words. Look for them in your storybooks. This word is big. A big ape. This word is little. A little bug. Good. And this word is. Milk is good. Up. Look up at the moon. Big. Little. Good. Is. Up. All of these are sight words. Don't forget to look for these words everywhere. This word is my. My hat. Will. Will you play ball? This word is are. And this one is funny. My cat and my kitten are funny. Like. I like you.
Here's a little ditty that's going to teach you about numbers. It goes like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'll say it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. This is where we begin. We'll show you what the numbers are and what they do. So let's give it a try if that's all right with you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Basically, we use numbers to count stuff. So just count along with me. You ready? Here we go. 1, ape. 1, 2 horses. 1, 2, 3 little kitties. 1, 2, 3, 4 geese. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fish. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How many turkeys? Let's count 'em and see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 little birds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 8 seals. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 9 turtles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. How many zebras are we gonna find? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'll say it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now you know what numbers are and what they do. It's really kind of fun to learn something new. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Numbers are an important part of reading. Sometimes numbers are written as mathematical symbols like 1, 2, 3. And sometimes they are written as words like 1, 2, 3. Let me show you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, you know the colors of the rainbow. Here's how the colors look in reading. Red is the color that means stop. Brown is the color of soda pop. Black is like a starless night. Yellow is like golden sunlight. White is like new fallen snow. Green is the color of grass and go. Blue is the sky and the sea. Orange is like an orange ought to be. Purple is